now 6 minutes after 3. Good afternoon to you. Jalen Nye is on vacation. And as we talked to our first guest right out of the gate here on the program, talking about how important it is to take a bit of a break and a bit of vacation time for your long-term brain health. So she's working on her brain health right now. So she'll be back at the end of not this Monday, but the Monday after. So we're looking forward to her return, but I'm sure she's having a grand time away. Really happy to have Edmonton's Vivian Abboud here. She immigrated to Canada from Lebanon in 1995 as a 17-year-old bride. Now, she wasted no time getting busy and getting going on with her life when she arrived in Canada. She worked as a math tutor and she worked in a bakery. She completed her Bachelor of Education degree in 3 years' time. She became a math teacher before moving to her current senior management position in the public sector. She is married, has 3 children. She's a dedicated volunteer, helped develop the Women of Advocacy Voice of Edmonton, WAVE. Nominated for a YWCA Woman of Distinction Award. She owns a cafe. Whew! Just a little bit more here. She's recently also been honored, which is very big, actually, honored as one of the 2014 RBC Top 25 Canadian Immigrants. Welcome to the show, Vivian. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mark.
That is...
Glad to be here.
How do you have time to even be here?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Sometimes I wonder myself, and I get lots of questions about that.
Let's start with your latest distinction. How does it feel to you to be named one of Canada's top immigrants? What does that mean to you?
You know, I'm very, very humbled, and at the same time, I feel very lucky to be nominated. It's nice for people to recognize all the work that you do, not only to better your life, but to better the community. But most importantly, I think it's that it would help and inspire others, others who come from other countries with different ways of doing and thinking. I find that very, very rewarding, that people would be able to read my story and look at ways that it would help them and get inspired and even ask me questions, and I find that's very, very good.
How does the process work to be nominated for that distinction and then to win it? What are they looking for? What is RBC looking for?
I believe that it's a yearly process where I guess citizens and people nominate different people for different achievements. I'd say they would look at your own accomplishment at the same time, you know, for your own, I guess, life, but at the same time your contribution to the society. I think from what I saw in the different nominations. So I believe that they received at least 800 nominations this year, and they shortlisted them to 75, and that's when we got, you know, I received the call, and I had to share that with my network, and I believe that the decision was made 50% on the votes and 50% based on the judge's decision.
So what was it like when the call came in? They said, you're one of our 25.
I was very, very excited.
I guess.
Because it comes with a responsibility when you share that with your network. It's not easy for me, and I'm not very comfortable asking for people to vote for me because I might receive an award and so on. So after the voting stopped, I was worried. I'm like, what about if I don't win? All these people, they see me in the elevator, wherever they see me, they ask me, how did you do? How did you do? So I'm very thankful, and I appreciate everyone who voted for me and shared that information.
What is the responsibility? What is your responsibility as with this distinction? Do you have something you have to achieve because of it?
Yes, I think any award, any recognition, it comes with a responsibility. It comes with a responsibility to continue the work of contributing to the society and also inspiring others. I think it's not just about me, it's about looking at others and also nominating them and supporting them to get to where I am.
And I noticed on the list that there's also another Edmontonian that was named as well to the top 25.
And that's right, that's Manwar. And Manwar is my colleague, and he works for the government of Alberta also. So him and I were in Vancouver celebrating together. And it's a true inspiration for me. It's just amazing, the energy and the feeling that you get when you hear others, get that award, and at the same time when you're together celebrating your success.
Did they give you a deal on a mortgage?
I wish.
No, sounds like they didn't. Let's talk about your time before you moved to Canada. Let's talk a little bit about your journey. You grew up in Lebanon, and then you came here when you were 17.
That's right.
What was Lebanon like when you were young and in your early teens, I guess?
You know, when they asked me about Lebanon, they asked me about my experience. You know, I have mixed emotions. You know, I love Lebanon. When they tell me I compare Lebanon to Canada, I say it's very difficult to compare and choose between the father and the mother.
Right.
You know, I was raised through the Civil War. There were lots of challenges. You know, I was quite focused on the academics because that's what my parents taught me that, you know, with work ethic and education, you'll be able to get somewhere. But at the same time, you know, it wasn't stable. And there's, you know, the war and the challenges that come with that. I remember one day my dad was abducted for no reason, and we couldn't. My brothers and I, we were crying, and my mom, she went looking at, talking to the neighbors, and my dad, who had no affiliations with any political parties, and, you know, very, very thankful that he was sent back home. But, you know, there's that uncertainty that we lived through that was quite challenging, you know, hearing the bombs and all that. It did, I think, affect me in a way that I wanted to make a difference where I can in a positive way. I wanted to help my family.
Even at that age?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't think I lived my teenager years. I don't remember. I feel that I was the mom and the dad when my parents were not there, especially because I was the oldest.
Right.
So it does shape your ways of you know, there's some of it's innate in who you are as a person, but also the challenges around you end up shaping your thinking and your ways of living and thinking, I think. And that's what happened to me.
And I understand at that time in Lebanon there was such a great gap between the have and the have not. And you were pretty fortunate, you know, you weren't living on the streets, or you weren't in that situation, but by seeing that in your country, that affected you.
It did. It did affect me greatly, especially in our area where we're living, because my dad...
What part of Lebanon was that?
Beirut.
Beirut, okay.
In Beirut, I remember, because my dad at one point, he owned businesses, and because of the war, he lost a lot of his business. But we were living in an area, you know, considered elite, and I saw a lot of people who were struggling on the roads, not having money, and on the other side, having people who have everything they want, and they had the power, they had the human rights. I had everything, and others did not have that. I remember many times standing on my, you know, you know, outside and looking at the sky and saying, I wish I have the opportunity to give others, to help others. I wasn't thinking about myself. I was hurt about the people who had nothing, and the others who had everything. We were kind of in the middle just because of the situation, you know, with my parents.
Right.
But I observed both, and it was quite challenging.
So, but at 17 you came to Canada.
That's right.
So if you hadn't have come to Canada, you probably would have done much of the same things that you have done in this community there, I'm assuming. Do you think?
I have to say, I don't think so. I think that my effort would have been there. I think that I would have had some support, but definitely what Canada what offered me, there's no way I would have been able to have it in Lebanon, between the democratic process, the human rights, freedom of speech, being able as a woman to be a businesswoman, to be a public servant, to have a voice, you know, the equal rights, the human rights, gender rights, all that actually allowed me to do what I did here. I put the efforts for sure, but the community and the land of opportunity, Canada, helped me.
You came here when you were 17 years old. I want to talk about your first impressions of Canada when you arrived. We'll take a break here. We're speaking with Vivian Abboud. She is, well, she's a highly decorated Edmontonian, if you will. She was just named one of RBC's top 25 Canadian immigrants, nominated for a YWCA Woman of Distinction Award, an advocate, volunteer, and business owner, entrepreneur. We're just having some time with her today to tell you her story. When we come back, she comes to Canada and, if you will, hits the ground running, and running hard and fast, and we'll tell more of her story. Is the one named one of RBC's top 25 Canadian immigrants. She's an Edmontonian. She is a very busy human being. She has spent time as a math tutor. She's an educator. She became involved in the public sector. She's a manager level. She's also has a family and 3 kids. She's a dedicated volunteer. She's helped to develop the WAVE organization. We'll talk about that. Nominated for a YWCA Woman of Distinction Award. Has a cafe to boot. And now we've left our conversation off, Vivian, we're talking about coming to Canada. Ultimately, why did you come to Canada as a 17-year-old? You left Lebanon. You probably had things set up quite well in Lebanon for yourself.
That's right. And I remember at the age of 17, it was the first year that the diploma exams were introduced, and I did work very, very hard to pass them and to be accepted into medicine at the university. And then my husband Norm came, husband-to-be.
Norman pulled off a miracle, is what he did.
So he came for a visit with his mom, and his mom and my dad are related. And after 2-3 weeks, he asked me to marry him, and I believe that it was love at first sight, and I decided to get married eventually and to continue with my ambition and what I wanted to do in my future.
What were your first impressions of Canada when you arrived?
I loved the green space. I loved how nice everyone was. I loved the peace, how welcoming and how warm it is. I came in the summertime. I came in June.
It does make a small difference.
So that was my first impression, I remember.
And when you arrived, you're 17. The family came not long after that, but you were determined to get your education. Was that the key to this, to the moves that you've ultimately made in your life, to these distinctions and awards?
That's right. I've always been a person who walks the talk in my life, and I remember when we accepted that we are going to get married, and my parents and everyone was on board. I made the promise to my parents that I will continue with my education, and to my family, and I think also that I came here and I saw the opportunities, and right away we got married here in July, and I started school. I think I started working in August and school in September. So I think that the fact that I stand by my word and that I wanted to, I survived many challenges that for me, all that was an opportunity.
Right.
It came all at once.
How have you balanced all of this and a family? I would imagine that is the key to this whole deal.
That's right. I have to say that my work ethic, my perseverance, but I could not do it without the support of my in-laws. My in-laws, where I will always owe them. They were extremely supportive. They really helped me. The welcoming community here, they were very, very, very supportive also. And eventually my parents, I will always owe my parents for what they taught me, to focus on education and all that. The balance comes with, I see positive in everything that I do. I think I always compare it unconsciously to what I survived and what I'm doing, or all those, I guess that busy schedule to me, it's I don't want to be saying nothing, but I've survived moments that were more difficult than that. So let's say in the mornings I do my doctorate work, and in the daytime I focus on my job. I will strive for excellence on in my day job. In the evenings I do my community work, but I involve my family in it too.
Do you miss being a teacher?
I do. I do miss being a teacher, but I think every day I live as a teacher with my own kids and with my community work.
Why is it so important for you to contribute to this community of ours? And you do so in many different fronts. What are the fronts that you focus on these days? I know we can talk about WAVE, which is the Women of Advocacy Voice of Edmonton. Let's start with that. Why did you want to get involved with that, or help to bring that to life?
See, I always feel like I have to give back. I always feel that any opportunity comes with a responsibility. I think that we need to be engaged as citizens. We need to be, ethical citizens who really give back. It's fine to say we have those great opportunities, but we cannot be complacent about them. And I think we need to play an active role in protecting them. If you look at what's happening globally, I think that we are very, very lucky here, and we should not not be taking that for granted, and that's what motivates me. And when it comes to WAVE, I mean, I've been for years since I arrived. I looked for resources, I looked for ways of connecting. I saw some redundance of efforts. I saw there are same organizations offering same support, but they're missing some people, and I felt there's women who are struggling. So my sense of responsibility of protecting, of giving back, got me involved in all the volunteer, first in my welcoming community, and then second after in branching out to the larger community, because it's not, we need to be living not only as not, we don't want to be assimilated, but we have a big responsibility towards a large community. So WAVE is one of my involvements. I feel that women are very lucky to have a voice here, but at the same time there's room for improvement, and room for improvement at many levels, leadership level, at the political level, at the societal level. I thought that we need to support more women, not because women are not able, but the system sometimes they have barriers, and we need to review those barriers. We need to look at them in a way that it does not prevent women from reaching their full potential. Because when you're supporting women, you're supporting the community.
Right. What more has to be done in our community on that front, do you think? What do we need here?
I think first we are very lucky to have what we have. I think it's important to play an important role in protecting what we have and to be involved. But I think to look at the future in a way that how do we understand each other better? We all come with different backgrounds, different ways of thinking. We have the opportunity to live our own cultures, to practice them, but how do we mesh and make sure that we're all living in harmony under the Canadian citizen responsibility?
Sure.
I think that's what we need to work on, because I don't feel that there's enough information and training when people come into that country. If you don't have the initiative, it does take a long time for you to know on what should you do and what's important, and learning about each other and not just focusing on ourselves and on our own culture.
Have you ever thought about politics, Vivian?
I have.
I imagine you have.
I have.
And?
I have. And, I think one day eventually when I feel that I'm ready, it would be my pleasure to serve. I mean, right now I'm within the public service, and I love it. And whatever I can, I help out. I like the word help, even though sometimes people say, well, you're inspiring, you're empowering, but I really like to help others. And having a voice and making a positive difference.
Right.
And for me, that positive difference is not only in the community, it does make a positive difference in my life, because I love doing that.
What advice do you give to new Edmontonians that have just come here from anywhere on planet Earth, moved to the city? You must meet people that come here all the time. What do you tell them? What's your biggest piece of advice to them?
My biggest piece of advice is to reflect on who they are, to know themselves very well, to discover the leader in them. Look at their weaknesses, look at their strength, define a vision. Where do they want to be? And then after that, look at what's around them. Look at the resources available. Look at the people surrounding them. There's expertise and talents around you. So don't do it on your own, because you can't do it on your own. And even if you do it on your own, you will not be as successful. So put all that together and keep your eye focused on your vision.
From your RBC Top 25 Canadian Immigrant Award, you've been nominated for the YWCA Women of Distinction Award. Word is you're nominated for the 40 Under 40 Award. These awards are wonderful, but you'd still be doing this without that recognition, I'm getting a sense.
That's right. I've always done it. I've done it for the last 19, 20 years, and I do many things. Many things I do, and people who know me know that, because I love being with people and working with and for people.
What's your next major project?
Well, to be honest with you, I really want to...
Are you going to simmer? Are you going to take it down a gear here?
Well, I just I just find that sometimes when I meet different people from my different involvements, I feel that there is women leaders as entrepreneurs, as educators, as in the not-for-profit. But I don't feel that there's a lot of cross-networking. So I've been taking the initiative to creating events and opportunities where there's cross-networking, because I think that's where you build the capacity. You build the capacity among women leadership, and at the same time, people are knowing about each other and supporting each other, and it's always nice to see what's outside of your own sphere.
What's the best way for people to connect with you that want to maybe participate in your activities?
Well, it's on Facebook, Twitter, social media, and
not hard to find you.
No, for sure.
It's Vivian Abboud who we're talking about, and by the way, Abboud, if you're going to want to find and connect with her. It's been a real pleasure to spend some time with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for dropping by, and say hi to Norman.
Will do.
All right. All the best, Vivian.
Thank you. Appreciate that.